Welcome to Crafting My Style. I have a beautiful white on white festive card for you today. It's got a little bit of vellum to it, so it's got a nice little definition from that. We will show you what we're using. First up, we have the Poinsettia Flourish Corner. We're going to be using the Holly Lattice frame for the focal element. Across the channel in the card, we're going to be using the Holly Swirl. And our sentiment comes from the Tidings of Comfort and Joy. And we're going to be doing a bit of embossing with the Contemporary Poinsettia, an A4 embossing folder from Creative Expressions. So we'll set those to the side. I'm going to start with our embossing. Now I've gone ahead and cut the background, and I find it's easier to cut into two pieces and emboss that way if you're going to be using a channel card like this. So I'll give you a quick measurements. It's 6 inches by 5 inches on the top and 6 inches on the bottom, and it is 1.5 inches on the width. So we're going to bring over our Contemporary Poinsettia. Now this is a folder that you can just put it in just about anywhere you want. There's not any linear lines to it to really worry about. So I'm just going to pop them both into place and cover it with the raspberry adapter plate. Give it a quick run through. Now, I recommend don't run your embossing folders back through the machine because sometimes the card inside can move and you'll get a double emboss from it. Let's get under there. So we've got a really lovely detail feature from that. Bring that out. We'll set that to the side. Okay, so I went ahead just to save a little bit of time, and I've set it up how I'm going to assemble this card. So I'm going to put that on the top piece here, this one down here. In the middle, I have a piece of double-sided sticky, just cut a little bit wider than I'm going to use. And I find it's a little bit easier to do this first. So I've peeled that off. And what we're going to use is the iced flake for this. So it's a beautiful, very, very chunky glitter. So I'm going to just pop some right down there, and then we're going to spread it around a little bit. It's quite a bit thick. It's like little hexagonal shapes that are sort of clear with a tiny bit of iridescence to them. Really pretty. And we're just going to move it around until we get all that sticky area attached. If you like it to be a little bit thicker, you can leave it on top of each other. However you want, you can tap off the extra, pop that back in, and then take it off the edges there. So you can see you've got a really pretty look from that. A lot of iridescent glitter look to it as you move it around. Okay, put that to the side. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my embossed pieces into place. I want to raise them up on either side of that channel, and that will create that downward look. So just let me lean in and kind of get this nice and even with the top. There we go. Take this piece off, we'll tidy up. Put this one down. Let me just see if I can get that lined up on the edge there. So it'll just go over a little bit, leaving you that really lovely channel look there. So the first thing we want to do is put our swirls onto that. So I've gone ahead, I've cut 2 of the Holly Swirls out of coconut white card. So sometimes it's easiest to do this just by kind of laying it into place and just sort of looking to see where it will be touching, and then adding glue to those areas. It does dry clear. So if you get a little bit on a piece that's not going to touch, then don't worry too much about it. The larger pieces here, let's try touching those around. Let's see, we may have to add a little bit in depending on where this lands. Put that right about like that. I'm going to try and catch that little edge there. Catch that. Just the tip of this. There we go. And you can see one doesn't quite go across that, so I've cut a second one, and we're just going to turn it the opposite direction. Add some glue to the top parts of this, and I don't think I've got to go too terribly far. We can maybe just do that section, and we'll trim away any of the excess. I'm going to overlap it just slightly. In fact, we could even, just for some stability, we can kind of interlock those areas there. And bring that back. And I want to just get that last swirl on there to kind of give it a bit more stability. I think that will do it. And we're just going to trim this even. So you can even save this for another card. So you've got a nice little swirl going across the top there. So I will go ahead and put it onto my background, and then we're going to work on the focal element. I've done just a white on white pierced layer and another white layer behind it. I've got some mounting foam to hold it into place. Just put that right down inside of our piercing. Okay, so working forward, I've cut the holly lattice frame using the outside decorative die, or the outside cutting die and the inside decorative die, and I've left the center to solid, so I've not used that center die in this. Then I went ahead and cut the same shape out of vellum. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of spray glue on this. Just spray the back of it. And we're going to attach the vellum to it. And I've used the slightly smaller cutting edge for that, so I don't have to worry about it going over the edge there. And I do want to add some mounting foam onto the back here, so I'll go ahead and do that while I've got it turned over. Raise that part up. Okay. So that is going to sit right in the middle of the top area here. And what I want to do is just define that a little bit more. So bring in another piece of coconut white card. And as you'll notice, there are two outside cutting dies on this set. So I'm going to make a little bit of a frame for it. So I'm just going to tape them into place so they're nice and straight. It's going to be a very thin frame, but enough to give it a little bit of definition. And there we go. Bring in my cutting plate. We'll run that through the platinum. Bring it back. Okay. So now I'm not going to be using this center section, so we can save that for another project. What I want is this piece right here. Now, I originally added this one with some mounting foam, but I'm just going to go ahead and glue this one on. It's totally your call if you want to use mounting foam to raise it. It does take a little bit more time to add all the mounting foam around, all the curves and whatnot, and you have to cut some very, very thin little pieces. But it does look really pretty like that, but I'm just going to go ahead and glue it. And if you want, you can even cut several of these and stack them up to give you a little bit of dimension too. So that's another way to get the same look. Pop that right down into place. Just move that. And even though that's not raised, you can still see the dimension that you get from the edge of the stitching going all the way around. Okay. Next thing is I've cut a couple of these Poinsettia Corners. Now these are beautiful. They're just lovely and debossed. So what we're going to do is add them with some glue into the corners. And even though it's a white on white look, you'll still have a really pretty detail on your cards when you give it to your recipient. It may not show up as well in a photo, but in person it looks lovely. A little bit of glue here. Just give that a second. Get all the little swirly bits. Put that up here and just kind of tuck the edges right underneath that focal element. Hold them into place for a second. There we go. You can put a couple of pearls in the center of the flowers there. And we're going to finish it off with our Tidings of Comfort and Joy. Now I've cut 3 of these and stacked them on top of each other. This is something I love to do with sentiments, mainly because it gives a lot of stability, but it does give you that definition that's really nice. So I'm going to just do a quick spray glue with it. And just a tiny bit of glue just to hold it in all the larger areas where I can tap it. Put that right into the center. And even though it's white on white, I think it's easily readable. Give it a second. There you go. Isn't that gorgeous? I think that's such a pretty card, and you get that beautiful, beautiful sparkle from that ice flake. enjoyed this, and don't forget to look on our YouTube channel for more videos and subscribe.